Your job isn't just to say the right thing. Your job is to make sure jurors can carry the right thing with them without you in the room. Welcome to the Foster Your Voice podcast with me, Christy Foster. After a 30-year career in music and theater, I never imagined I'd be coaching trial attorneys. But once I entered your world, I quickly realized how critical and underutilized voice is in the courtroom. The truth is, you don't win trials with brute strength. You win with your voice. I'll give you tools to unlock your voice so you can communicate not just with purpose, but on purpose. If you want quick action tips to help you stay calm and in control, keep jurors engaged, and inspire your listeners to action, all through the power of your voice, you're in the right place. I'm Christy Foster, and I'm here to help you foster your voice. Hello, Foster fam. Welcome back to today's episode of the Foster Your Voice podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Christy Foster. Now, if you're new to the pod, usually before we dive into the topic of the day, I like to share something that I've come across that I think is worth spreading around to others. Most often it's a fresh perspective on something that caused me to look at it with new eyes, or it's a challenging concept that made me think about it in a different way, or maybe open up to a new framework. Or those that were listening this summer, you were treated to a very thorough multi-part breakdown of all the ways that the Tour de France is similar to litigation. So it's a variety of things, okay? Today, I have something that I just knew I had to bring to you to see if your city or state does something similar. And here it is. Well, first, a little backstory. Each day, I get an email that has curated the top headlines across the nation. Brief political updates, some light pop culture references, and the like. But last week, there was a headline that said, "Jury duty's toll doesn't always end when the trial does." Of course, I clicked on the article because, as you know, I have a real heart for the jurors because that's who I would be and all that they go through during trial. So I was immediately intrigued. And it said that jurors who serve on deeply disturbing cases about murder and abuse, like in criminal cases, or on civil cases that involve a lot of gruesome details, that they can leave the courtroom with secondary traumatic stress disorder. This is also called vicarious trauma. One study, and I'll put the link to these studies and articles in the show notes for you, but one study said that up to 50% of jurors who served on difficult cases showed symptoms such as anxiety, despair, and sleep issues that sometimes went on for months or years. There are some jurisdictions, like the city of Philadelphia, the state of North Dakota and Alaska, and parts of California, Massachusetts, and even Texas. They have programs they've rolled out to help jurors cope with this vicarious trauma. So, like in Philadelphia, they just started a post-trial counseling program where, after trial, jurors are offered a business card with a QR code that directs them to a counseling service sign up. Now, one of the big contributors that exacerbates this trauma is that jurors aren't allowed to talk while the case is going on. This article says that, quote, not being able to discuss what they see in court until a trial ends can compound emotional despair, end quote. As a verbal processor, that makes complete sense to me. Now, this article really drives the point home. But I've also been saying for a long time that we need to do more to accommodate and facilitate jurors' learning and processing. They need more than the obligatory "thank you for your service." We're going to talk today about clarity. And that will go a long way with helping jurors understand the case facts and maybe help curb where their brains want to just run away and fill in the gaps with their own imagination, which might elevate the horror of the events in your case. But also, I just want to keep encouraging and nudging you to treat the difficult material. Maybe even include some trigger warnings before you pop up a picture of gruesome injuries or a wreck or a botched surgery. Just a verbal, so these next pictures are going to show the injury or crash scene or whatever. Just something so their brains can brace and protect themselves emotionally. Now, remember that you are desensitized to this stuff. I'm not saying you're cold and heartless, not at all. I'm just saying that you're used to dealing with these types of gruesome, trauma-inducing details. And you have a duty to help nurture the jury along so they don't shut down and check out. And so they feel equipped to cope with the material along the way, in spite of the limitations the court has put on them to not discuss it. So I'm curious, does your city offer post-trial trauma counseling for jurors? Have you heard of this before? What do you think about having programs like this? And how do you personally contribute to the care of jurors in difficult cases? Send me an email at christy@fostervoicestudio.com. I really want to hear from you. Hey, real quick, if your jurors look confused when you say liability, standard of care, or damages, they're not tuning out because they don't care. They're tuning out because they don't speak law. I've put together a free guide called Top 20 Legal Terms to Avoid and What to Say Instead. It'll help you simplify your language without losing credibility, so your message actually lands. Download it now at fostervoicestudio.com/top20 or click the link in the show notes. All right, back to the episode. Now, a few weeks ago, we talked about code switching, how attorneys have to be bilingual in the courtroom, moving seamlessly between the language of the law and the language of the people. If you missed that episode, go back and give it a listen because it kind of sets the stage for what we're diving into today. Because even if you can shift registers, even if you do know when to use formal legal terms and when to simplify for jurors, none of that matters if your words don't land with clarity. Clarity is what turns information into influence. Now, here's what we know to be true. Jurors don't exactly get a whole packet of reading material to take into deliberation with them. They don't get a replay button. What they get is you, and only once. Neuroscience tells us something really important, that people can only hold about 4 chunks of new information in working memory at once. So if you're overloading them with long sentences, technical language, or wandering explanations, they'll tune out. Not because they don't care, but because their brains literally can't keep up. Clarity doesn't mean dumbing things down. It means respecting your jurors' cognitive load and making your words easy to absorb, easy to process, and easy to carry into deliberation. Now, let's break this down a little bit. Cognitive ease versus cognitive strain. The brain likes when things feel easy. When your language is straightforward, the jurors' brains can relax. Processing feels smooth. They feel smart, capable, and engaged. That's cognitive ease. But if your phrasing is tangled or packed with jargon, their brains have to work harder. That's cognitive strain. And here's the kicker. Most people often misinterpret cognitive strain as, I don't like this person. They won't necessarily say, I don't understand. Instead, they'll just feel resistant to you. Now, think about it. If I say, the plaintiff has a burden of proving by a preponderance of the evidence that the defendant deviated from the standard of care. That's a lot to hold on to in one go. But if I say, our job is to show that what happened here was more likely than not caused by the defendant's choices. Suddenly, that's digestible. It's one chunk. It's clear. Now, in deliberations, jurors will repeat what they remember. So clarity isn't just about the courtroom moment. It's about equipping them with language they can carry. That means short, repeatable phrases, anchors they can hang on to. Now, as I'm talking about this, I can almost hear your brain saying, okay, Christy, I get why clarity matters, but how do I actually fix my own language? That's what your voice sounds like in my head. So that's exactly why I put together just this mini training called Speak So They Get It. Pretty simple. It's short, it's practical. It walks you through my 3-step framework for turning legalese into just plain spoken, powerful language that jurors can actually use in deliberation. And it's only $7. $7. That might even be less than your courtroom coffee run, right? Now, in addition to that, I offer an add-on. If you want me to take a look at your actual language from a juror's perspective, but with a neurological aim, I'll take a look at voir dire question or a chunk of your opening, maybe a tricky witness exchange, just a 15-minute language review. You just send me about 250 words and I mark it up with rewrites. I'll record a little video for you and you'll see exactly how to make your own words land with jurors. So both of these are designed to make clarity not just an idea, but a habit in your trial prep. So I'll put the link in the show notes if that's something you're interested in, this mini training called Speak So They Get It. Okay, now let's talk about some habits that will help. One idea per breath. If your sentence is longer than your breath, it's too long for jurors' working memory. Plain words first. Don't avoid legal terms altogether. I know you need to use them in some cases, but introduce them with a quick, clear definition in everyday language. Use metaphors and analogies. These are cognitive shortcuts, so to speak. They take something unfamiliar and link it to something that jurors already know, already have a frame of reference for. Look for sticky repetition. Say the key phrase the same way every time. Some of you might know this as ringing the bell. It always has that same ding, ding, ding. That consistency will lodge it in memory. So here's the part that makes clarity so distinct from code switching. Code switching is about who you're speaking to. Clarity is about how you craft your message so anyone can carry it. Now, clarity isn't just about words, it's about how you deliver them. Pauses. Silence is your friend. It's what gives jurors time to digest. Your pacing. Rushing blurs the edges of your message. Slowing down draws focus. Lean into the words that matter most. Use emphasis. Keep your tone calm, grounded. It makes your message sound trustworthy and approachable. Now remember, jurors are both listening and watching. When your delivery matches your words, calm, confident, spacious, they'll trust you more and they'll follow you more easily. Now, here's just a quick example. Imagine you're explaining damages. You could say, and I've heard you say, Compensatory damages are intended to restore the plaintiff to the position they would have been in but for the defendant's negligence. Whew. Or you could break it down like this. Compensation means making it right. It means giving back what was lost. And while no amount of money erases what happened, damages are how the law makes sure someone isn't left carrying the burden alone. Now, both are accurate, but only one will still be ringing in jurors' ears when they walk into deliberation. So here's the big picture. Code switching earns you credibility by meeting different courtroom audiences where they are. Clarity earns you influence by making your message easy to understand, easy to process, and easy to repeat. So your job isn't just to say the right thing. Your job is to make sure jurors can carry the right thing with them without you in the room. So this week, I challenge you. I triple dog dare you. Look at your opening, your closing, even your voir dire questions, and ask yourself, is this clear? Could a juror repeat this to another juror later? Because clarity isn't simplification. It's leadership. It's respect. And it's what makes your message unforgettable. Now, thanks for spending time with me today. If this episode gave you something to think about, would you share it with a colleague and leave a quick review? And if you want to go deeper, check out my early episode on code switching and get your hands on the Speak So They Get It mini training. The links are in the show notes. Until next time, keep fostering your voice. Thanks for pulling up a seat with me today and for being part of the Foster fam. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave a review or a comment so I can give you a shout out on a future episode. During the week, you can find me on Instagram at Foster Voice Studio, where I'm dropping little nuggets of vocal technique and leadership wisdom. You can also join my mailing list by visiting fostervoicestudio.com or by clicking the link in the show notes. I'll send a weekly vocal tip every Tuesday directly to your inbox. Until then, keep fostering your voice.